Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How can that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Well, you're very welcome once again. I'll tell you what I've got for you today. Trout, okay? Now, if you've never cooked a trout and you thought there's too many bones in that wretched thing to be able to get down to, I'll show you how to get them out. And also how to poach. And this looks almost like it's a television set, but it's really not. This is a microwave. This is the first microwave in my whole career that I've ever had in the kitchen. And I'll tell you the reason for that. I was a bit of a snob about it, I think, basically. And whilst I was at Cornell University and teaching there in 1974, with the whole graduating student class, we actually got together and went through all the basic methods of cookery that there were, and about 74, and compared the microwave to how it was done under conventional cooking. And only one came out right, which was poaching fish. And this is the way I'm going to use it at the present moment. No, I'm getting a little better at it now, and microwaves are improving. Okay, little bits of mushroom on top of a thick fillet of trout, freshly cooked, hawked out of a little tiny pond where it's been feeding on delectable little organic things. Little dustings of green on the top, pale green here, with some streaks of yellow in it, not really the way it is, but that's the only way I can characterize it, of braised celery hearts. Do you love that? A braised celery heart, which is done in the fish stock to carry the same flavor. A pilaf of rice on the side, also with the same flavor migrating across there. And to cap it all off, a buttery yellow sauce that for all the world you say, Graham, you've gone crazy. It's swimming in butter, which of course it isn't. It's going to swim in saffron instead. All right? Interested? Come on, show you how it's done. Do you remember Dr. Kildare? I seem to remember it. It was terrific. We used to wait in bated breath to be able to see the program. And I would always be able to whistle the theme from Dr. Kildare whenever I was doing anything like this. You know, I don't even know how it goes anymore. If you know how it goes, whistle it for me. Here is a nice little 12-ounce trout here. And if you're a good angler, easy to catch. I'm going angling a little while later. You have a look at that. Here is the head on the top. We don't need the head in this particular dish. Some people like the whole fish broiled head on. It's just one of those things. But in this case, we're going to have the head off. Just cut through the shoulder and remove that. Sorry, and then, isn't that a sexist remark? Sorry, old chap. You know, sorry, madam. I really didn't know which was which, but anyway. So we just take the tail and the head. That's a short fish, isn't it? And drop those into 3 cups of water, 3 cups of cold water. Now, yes, I'll get to the rest of the ingredients that go in there in just a second for you. Now, when you open up the fish, you need to cut down the backbone here and just hunt down until you actually find the backbone itself. Now, let's see whether I can sort of turn that round for you and take a little bit better knife. So take it down there so that you've got some perches here on the actual back of the spinal column. Now, using your thumbs, just push up with your thumbs either side there. You follow me? Push up there, either side of the backbone, all the way up to the top. Okay? And you've loosened it now, and you've got under most of the bones. Now you just simply take a hold of the bones like that and peel it back. Not bad, eh? Now, I could bluff you and say that that's easy. It's not quite that easy because there's a little bit more to it. But there's a lot of bones there that have come away in just that one fell swoop. Now, drop those bones down with the head and the back. I want to take this down in one center cut right the way through, and then waste, apparently, the whole of that center portion down the backbone. There are little bones that run down there, the dorsal fin particularly. And if you've got a mouthful of dorsal fin, you really know, and you want to cut it in two pieces anyway. This, by the way, weighs about 3.5 ounces each when it's trimmed, so that's a reasonable portion. Now, we'll just take a little cut here because there is that belly portion, and there's a small amount of bones that's on there too. There's a little bit of bone on that one. And we'll do the same on that side. They seem to have come out all right. I don't know why. Oh, of course, they're on one side. Here we go. Oh, there it is. I knew there was something there. And just cut that out. Just swoop it out. You may, if you just feel over the surface here, you may find a few random bones which are still stuck in there. And for the benefit of those that you love and care for, there's nothing worse than being put off almost for life, especially young people, who get a bit of bone and say, hate fish, then forever. Anybody in my crew? Not my crew, but your crew. I mean, we're all part. Anybody ever had that thing? Oh, yes, Marion. Jerk your camera up and down. That's right, that's right. I know you'd never do that professionally, but that's him. He's on that camera. And that means that he's been put off fish for the whole of his life because of a bone. Oh, Marion, this is for you. Every little bone is taken out there, nice, clean, drop them all in, so you're wasting absolutely nothing. Then get a plate and lay the fillet out. Don't rinse it or anything else like this. If you over-rinse fish, you can take away the glorious, gamey, fresh flavor of a really good fresh fish. But you can wash your hands. Great. Now, over the top of this, what we do next. The sauce, the stock, which is going to be the thing which carries through the whole dish here, is going to be made from the same ingredients which are going to go with the actual presentation. Remember, as I told you, there's going to be some celery. Well, here we take the top parts of the celery and just very quickly chew a knife blade through it, just roughly hack it up. This is the top, obviously, of a heart of celery. This is the heart of celery, and those were the pieces which extended from it, so you don't waste anything. Get back to the heart in a second. Now, there's 4 stalks there, and drop that down on top of the fish bones, turn the heat on, and we're going to bring that to the boil for about 25 minutes, no more than 25 minutes. There's something strange about fish bones, you know. When you cook them for more than 25 minutes, they go bitter. And it really defeats the whole object of the exercise, so only 25. Here, stalks from mushrooms, and I've got 8 mushrooms, so those are just simply taken out of stalks and popped into the top. Nearly spoiled the recipe. And then a little herb in here, or herb. This is a bay leaf, and so bay leaf and 1 teaspoonful of thyme. And that can be dried or fresh, it's perfectly all right. Just a little bit more if it's fresh. And stir that in together. And when that's cooked, it's a bit of a shock actually, but it does look like this. And it's had that 25 minutes cooking, and it has the most wonderful woodsy kind of aroma to it. It smells as if it belongs in a pond, which is not brackish, you know. And then pour that off into the top. I know this is a little sordid, but that's the way it is. And just put it on one side. And it's quite nice stock here. And I'm going to pour that through there. I want to get 1 cupful out of that. The rest of it I would keep for making the rice pilaf, okay? Because I'm going to cook rice, a little onion, and then some long-grain basmati rice, and then saute the onion, and put the rice on the top and saute that together, and then slosh this couple of cupfuls of stock on top of it, put it into a hot oven where it is at the present moment. You'll see it in a second. Okay, good. So here is the cup, and that cup is going to be poured into that small pan there. going to add something more to it in a moment, but I just want to heat that up and get that going. That's going to make the sauce, that saffron sauce that we talked about. All right, now, little mushroom caps. This mushroom, I've got 8 mushrooms, and we took the stalks out, but now we're going to deal with the mushroom itself. So we take that mushroom and put it with the other 8 mushrooms. And a little while ago, just before we started, I popped into the microwave there the celery heart. Celery heart's quite tough, but if you cut it in 2 like this, you've got this new shoot growing in the middle, and it makes the most marvelous braised vegetable. By braising, you put it into a stock, strangely, the same stock that we've been making from the same bones, carrying through the whole thing. This is how you do it. You put it into a dish, and you put that stock on top, and put it into the oven, and you cover it with a little piece of wax paper. Then you give that 10 minutes, and then you open the door, strangely, and turn it about 45 degrees, and then give it another 5 minutes. By doing that, you make sure that it goes through the whole of that quite large, thick piece of vegetable. It needs that little bit of an angle, as many, books like this will show you. All right. Now, we take this out. What's so wonderful about a microwave is that it heats up food and cooks it, but it doesn't necessarily make the dish too hot to handle, which I think is fantastic. So you then take the celery heart out and pop that on a plate by the side, put a dish over the top of it to keep it warm, and now what have you got? Celery reinforcing the stock which came from there, okay? Because that's what it's cooked in. You get the mushrooms, which I had prepared, and those are the 8 finely sliced mushrooms. Push them down, and then cover that with the same piece of paper. I mean, Al Gore would be thrilled with me. Come on, Al, smile. And so this, then, we'll just open the door and pop this in. Now, these only take 3 minutes. This is a tiny little machine. I mean, I'm sure if you've got one of these, it's got bells and whistles all over it. This is the simplest possible machine you can get. So 3 minutes. So whilst it's doing its 3 minutes, why don't we go fishing? I had a great time. Okay, come with me. We'll go to a sylvan scene and throw in a little tiny piece of dog food on the end. I'm sure that was the problem. And throw it in and try and catch ourselves a trout. Clearly, this is a program about trout, and we know that already. But this is something more than just fishing, This has got a lot to do with what Dean Ornish is saying about putting 3 things together. The kind of food that you eat, the kind of exercise you take, and the kind of rest that you have. This is the rest side. This is hardly exercise unless something big bites out here at the present moment. This is a trout farm. Now, trout farms, and the whole principle of trout farms is where you can come and borrow their rod, their reel, and their fish, and if you catch one, it's weighed up, and you pay a certain amount, according to how large the fish is that you caught. So if you really want to boast, you're going to have to pay for it. There are about several hundred of these over the whole country. You might like to look up in the yellow pages and ask the game and wildlife people where there are licenses, because they are licensed to be able to do this properly. This happens to be a place where the grade is extra fancy. In fact, the texture of the fish is going to be orange, or color is going to be orange and very oily. And that beautiful flavor, much better than you'd get from a regular trout farm. So I'm going to sit here and dangle this, and who knows, we may be able to see something interesting happen. What's that? Is it a pike? What do you think? Is that a pike? Look what we've got. Oh, well, there we go. When all else fails, use your tie. As I said, this can be a very relaxing process. We've been here for quite some time, and it's been exciting. I'm told there are several hundred fish down there, and they won. Back to you, Cook. I mean, I should have had my son Andy. I mean, he would have caught a turbot out of that same thing. I just don't know. I'm just not qualified to be able to fish that. I can cut them up, but not catch them. All right, let's see what we're doing. We'll get this. This is just finished with the 3 minutes, and we should be able to take it out in the hand. That's right. And here we've got an interesting thing that happens. The mushrooms obviously have given up a certain amount of the ghost in the flavor department there. But I want to just pull up the fish and dump the mushrooms on top of the fish. Now you see that the color of the stock has actually changed. That's because the mushrooms have given their flavor to it. Now distribute these evenly and attractively over the top, and they're fairly hot, but they're not too bad. Okay. And then take that juice, and with this little stock thing there, you do that later. Ah, dear. Who says that fishing is the only thing I don't do? And pour that on top. Now you've really got a dish swimming. You poke the fish down so that it's all completely under, and you take 4 ounces of peeled shrimp, peeled baby shrimp, and you distribute those over the top. Doesn't that look nice? Doesn't that look nice? And then a tablespoonful of dill, of fresh dill, scattered over the top, and a little bit of freshly ground white pepper, always freshly ground, and just a dab of the salt over the top. Great. Open the door once again. And don't forget the paper. Paper flush down on top. Press it down so that this is a waxed paper. And the seam, when it comes up under it, you see, and really gets in there and does a wonderful job. Now, in this case, depending upon the power of your machine, you can either set it at 6 minutes or at 4 minutes. Now, sorry about that, but consult your book and you'll know by your microwave just how powerful it is. This isn't very powerful, but I'm going to give that 4 minutes. Great. Now let's have a look at the sauce, because this is the most important part of this dish. What we do is we simply take a little arrowroot and the water here, and we put 1 tablespoonful of water on top of the arrowroot. What's the time I got? Oh, I think we're entitled to some magic. Would you mind some magic? I mean, there are times when I just thought 4 minutes. Gosh, that's going to run into the next program. Ready? Magic! Nothing, absolutely nothing like magic. It's now 6 minutes, and push the button, and on we go. What you do when it's absolutely ready, and just take it out, have a good look, make sure that the protein is coagulated properly, and it's lovely and white and plump and beautiful. Then take a small piece of muslin like this, little tiny saucepan, and then hold on to the fish as you tilt it, but tilt the sauce from the pan, because it's full of fish now, and it's really perfect. Pour that out, bring that to the boil, and this is going to finish our sauce. Now, sauce, because I want to make it look like a saffron sauce, actually I want to make it look like a butter sauce, you take a bit of saffron on the tip of a knife blade like that, just drop that down, maybe just a little bit more, and it's very expensive, but boy, does it ever color things that beautiful color. Raise the heat, and here you remember I was just stirring this, which is the little arrowroot mixed up with some water, and draw it from the side of the stove, pour that in on the top, and there's about a cup there to a tablespoonful, and that should be as thick as it should be, because it's got to have the texture like butter. Just bring it up to the boil. Doesn't actually need to boil because of the type of dish that it is. But let's have a look and see how all of this can come together. You could serve that, if you like, straight up as a dish, or you can take a nice fillet out of the 4 that you have, lay it out onto the dish, take a beautiful piece of braised celery, pop it on the side, roar over to your oven where you've got the pilaf all done, as we described a little earlier, and it's in the book, by the way. And for this, we need a spoon. Just take a spoonful of the rice, pop it on the side like that, and now what you do is put some dill over the top of the whole thing, perhaps a little parsley as well as that. Rain it down. Here, now just have a look at the sauce. See it? Boiling up like that. Pour it boiling hot over the top. See how it makes everything glisten? Doesn't that look like butter is swimming in it? Graham, wrong. Right. Yeah, I'll show you how much fat there is in that one. Come on through. Now, the actual classic to compare this, I just did this dish years ago. Loads of butter on it. Very nice, but let me show you what the numbers are when you compare them. It was 659 calories, and this is now sunk to 274. Fat was 41 grams, down to 8. Carbohydrates, 3. That's good news for those who count those. 26% of calories from fat, on the upper edge for me. 137 in cholesterol, which is good, and only 318 for sodium. And look at the sodium in that original one. Boy, I was into Ariel top dressing in those days. Now, you don't really need a fork, a knife for this, but it is, look at the butteriness of it, and the smell, it's really like a forest. Oh, that's so succulent. It's all down my chin. Great idea. Do try it, please. I don't know whether you've noticed, but I've been using some rather unusual plates recently, and I've been doing an experiment about this one. When I was really young, I was about 14, and I was a commie waiter. That doesn't mean a communist waiter. I mean, it was just a really short little waiter, wears a long apron and things like this. You just put the plates down on the table for the waiter. Then I got to be a waiter. And the first day I was a waiter, the very first person I ever served was Lord Shawcross, who was the Chief Justice in the British Isles at the time. And I was very nervous, apart from just the first person to serve. So he wanted a holdover sole. And what you do with a holdover sole is you get 2 knives together, fish knives, and you spread them like this. And you actually bring them back to the point of balance, and you lift up this buttery over sole, and you serve it onto the plate like that. Well, I did it perfectly, and I was really nervous. And the only trouble was that I put it right onto the tablecloth because I didn't put the plate down first, which is, And he looked up at me, marvelous man. He said, "Do you think I could have a plate?" But it was typical British understanding, and which serves this purpose. I wanted to talk about plate sizes because you see how small this plate is in comparison, yet its usable space is 8.5 inches by 7 inches. Now this much larger plate, isn't that amazing? 8.5 by 8.5 inches. It's 1.5 inches more space. Do you know something? When you are used to serving food on a particular size of plate, you can actually cut the amount of food, the actual portion size on the food. You don't want anybody else to hear this, but this is just for you and me. By 20%. You can actually drop it down. You know nowadays that you and I have been talking a lot about taking the meat portion where it used to be 6 ounces, maybe, or 4 ounces, and dropping it down to 2 ounces. Now the plate volume has a great deal to say for this. I chose this plate. Now I'm unashamedly trying to promote the idea of a plate. Notice this plate is almost like a bowl. It comes up around the top. It doesn't flatten out. But it is longer this way than this way, so that it has a sort of almost oval look to it. If I hold it up before you like that, you can see how it goes up at the edges. I call that the smiler. See, when you smile like this. So that's the smiler. Now, what happens is when you've got pasta or a dish with more juice in it than normal, and that's the kind of food that we're doing, and broths and things, you can actually cook and put the broth on there without it spilling out all over the table. So please look for these. Say to somebody, "Give me a smiler. I want that kind of plate." All right, for the family. God bless. Well, and of course, it's time to wash up. God bless. See you next week.